Yo, what's good, YouTube? What's good? This is Stormybman, and I am back welcoming you to the Friday night chop session with Stormybman for this Friday, April 23rd. It's 2021, and we are here for another Friday night chop session with Stormybman. We're calling this one episode 107, Scrambling for Matchups. That's right, we're talking about fights on the table, fights off the table, fights up for discussion, fights that are seemingly fantasy fights, even though these guys are currently involved in their active careers. But all the same, we have to discuss it, talk about what's going to happen. Are they going to ever make some of these matches? You know, just get people up off of their benches and get started on getting some fights in motion, man. That's what I'm talking about. But yeah, we here. It's another Friday. Man, these weeks are going by fast, bro. It seems like just a few days ago that we did the Friday night chop session, and I kind of want time to slow down a little bit, man. You know, it's moving kind of fast for Stormy B, man. I don't know about you all, but it's moving really fast for me, and I ain't feeling that too much, man. But we got some stuff on the bill to talk about, so that's what we're gonna do, man. I want to see who's out there with us out there in the chat. We got DT. Oh, and let me say this first and foremost. Salute to everyone out there who have decided to become a member for the Stormybman channel, man. It's like I didn't expect, so many of the subscribers to just go ahead and jump on the boat to become members right away, right off the bat. And that surprised me a great deal. And I just want to say salute to you all. You're very much troopers out there for supporting the brand and supporting the content that I am bringing you here. So I am really working very hard to try to make things as best as I can. And just forgive me when certain things take a little longer or whatever, because I'm on a serious learning curve as I'm doing so many different things. But salute to everyone that has decided to become a member, man. That just warms my heart to see that type of support right off the bat. Want to get out there and salute everyone that's out there. We got DT out there, who's also a member, says salute Stormy B Man in the chat. Godbody Sports and News says salute to you, Godbody. Good to see you out there. Big homie Coop is out there, says salute Sifu, and backsmack that like button. And Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens, my partner, is out there. He says salute my peoples. Can't wait to get Reggie on here so he can talk about some of the things that have happened this week, because Reggie is at the center again, but in a positive way, of some things happening in the sport, and he had a chance to get some exclusives, so we can't wait to talk to him about that. And my man Kano Loco Sports, Kano is out there, and man, let me just say, to see my man Kano Loco out there in the super chat, as well as also he said he stopped by to smash the like button. But when somebody gives to the super chat, Stormy has his way of acknowledging it. And my man Kano Loco is out there saluting me and the channel and the show. And we're going to salute him right back and acknowledge that super chat by Kano Loco Sports. And good luck to your fighter tomorrow, Kano Loco, when they square off on that card that's on ESPN. Kano's got a friend that's fighting on that card tomorrow night, and we'll talk about that card a little bit as well. So with all of that being said, man, we are here ready to get off into another show. And excuse me one moment, I have to make one more adjustment here. It's funny how when you get to doing things and you realize that everything moves so fast, man. It's like, whoa, you know. So get out there and acknowledge some things. But hey, man, you know, boxing is moving, but not at the pace we would like, because we would really like to see some more fighters out here, man, making the matches that we want to see. And that is important. It's an essential thing. And we got to make it happen. We got to get these guys in the ring. And I don't know if it's about, you know, making stories and talking about building it up and things of that nature, or calling them out on being, you know, reluctant or whatever. But I also want to take a moment and acknowledge my man, my co-host here, Reggie Owens, Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens. He's in with us from the start this evening, which is a very good thing. What's going on with you, Reggie? How you doing, bro?
Doing good, OG. How's it going?
Oh, man, it's all good, man. It's all good. Good to see you out here early in the show, because as I was mentioning, having you out here, hey, you had some exclusive take place early in the week, and we're gonna talk about that a little bit. You don't mind talking about it, do you?
No, not at all.
Just want to take a quick moment. We got another, and this thing moves kind of quick sometimes. Surprising. Just a second here. Take a quick moment and acknowledge another super chat that we got out there. We got Hustler's Home out there in the super chat. Appreciate you. He says, "What's up, Stormy and chat? What's good with you, Hustler's Home? Good to see you out there, man. And appreciate your donation, man. On time. That's what's up. Yeah. So Reggie, since you're here from the start, we can open up with a little bit of conversation. A couple of channels have been giving acknowledgments to you, because as you texted me earlier in the week, you ran into some personalities when you were out and about. And would you like to let everybody know, in the event that they haven't heard, but I'm sure by now people have heard what happened and went down. But I'll give you the floor. Just tell us what was happening earlier this week.
Oh yeah. I'm up in the mall out here in Vegas, and up in Macy's, walking out. As I'm leaving, I see like a team. You know, you can spot a boxer, man. At least I can, because there's so many of them out here. And I see him walking through, and I see that, you know, kind of that sweat, the little jogging sweat uniform that we see like Wilder and them wear. And I see one look like Team Fury, and I'm looking like, wait, no, that ain't them. So, but they heading in the direction I got to head out to go exit. But then Sugar Hill breaks away from it. He starts coming towards where I'm walking. I'm like, man, what's up, man? It's like, so I'm like, man, let me get an interview with you real quick. And he was cool with it. It's like, man, what's up? So just speak to him real quick, speak on what's going on. Ask him about their training camp, how that's going on. And he was stating that it wasn't a training camp. He just happened to be out here because I think he came out here originally for an event. And since he's been here, you know, I guess to tune things up, but he said they don't have anything, because he even stated, he said he wasn't joking about it, but there was nothing that was put in place. There's no paperwork signed. There's just an agreement between the AJ camp and Tyson Fury's camp, but ain't nothing signed, sealed. He's like, he's not training Fury because he doesn't know what's going on, or he may work out with Fury, because Fury did speak that Sugar Hill has him doing a few drills that he's working on and stuff, but there's nothing as far as where they go. They don't know if they fight in Wilder. They don't know if they fight in AJ. And then I was like, man, well, let's get the interview with Fury as well. But he's saying, man, Fury don't like to interview with folks. Man, I said, man, I'm about to interview this dude. He out here, I'm about to interview. And he's like, I don't know, because he's like, he's with his child. So we find him and stuff. So I walk out and say, man, what's up, Fury? What's happening, man? Let me get this interview with you real quick. He's like, come on, man, because it was really nobody around. You know, a lot of people in the mall didn't recognize him, a bunch of tourists and all that type of stuff. So I guess he was cool with someone recognized, because he didn't even look like himself. You know, your face is shaved off, wearing the mask and stuff. So we get the interview and ask him about what's going on with the heavyweights and this and that. He's just preparing for whoever they put out there in front of him. But it's almost like him even stating that there's nothing set to go between those two. But they were very cool, real cool cats, man. That's why I try to respect these fighters, man. And you know, because you're gonna meet so many of them, and just to get the little access to asking these questions, because so much that sits behind the you know, the possible excitement within the sport, because it is a heavyweight division, and also the things behind it. Now you start seeing more of Wilder starting to come out. So that just kind of left me to kind of the thoughts, and even the way in which they respond to the questions when I did ask about the Wilder situation. And it's almost doubts like that AJ situation may not be going down, that they possibly are going to be getting in there against Deontay Wilder. But he looked like he was in great shape, man. He looked much slimmer and stuff. So just waiting to see what happens. But they were very cool cats. And I'll probably see if I can try to interview them again, or possibly go into the gym where they're at. But yeah, that's what happened there.
Yeah, and let's stay on Fury for a moment here, Reggie. When you saw him and you remarked about him, you know, he looked like he was, you know, pretty lean and in shape. Wouldn't you say, from your up close observation, that he looked like he was even more lean than when he fought Wilder in the second fight, right? Wouldn't you say that?
Oh yeah, most definitely. That's why I think when he said he was 280, but I forget about his height as well. But I'm like, nah, he didn't look 280 at all. He didn't look like he was 280 at all. He looked real slim.
Yeah, in his workout videos that they've posted up recently, and a couple of still photos they showed of him, he does look a lot leaner. He doesn't look like he have those little love handles, you know, that he's been known to develop when he's inactive and things like that. But I did notice his lean appearance, and to me, I know he's been talking since last year about wanting to take a fight, and you know, they were talking about wanting to take a fight in December and things like that. But it's obvious that the man is working at something to keep himself on the leaner side, just in the event that whatever's going on behind the scenes happens to iron itself out. He wants to be able to go right into a camp and train for whoever the opponent may be, and not have to lose weight in the camp, as we call the so-called fat camps, which to me, that's very smart. And if it is the situation with Wilder that's going on behind the scenes, I would take it that Wilder's probably doing the same, because if it's decided that they are not going to fight one another, that they still need to be primed for a camp to get into a fight, because they both have now been out of the ring for over a year. You know what I mean? And it's like, these are heavyweights. And though Fury is younger than Wilder, they both need camps that will allow them to just train for whoever the opponent is, and not be training because they've been out of shape. You know what I'm saying? So it's good that they're doing that. And I say they because I do believe both guys are doing it. And even though it's not a camp, there's nothing wrong with staying in the gym, honing your craft, staying sharp and things like that, limber and stretched out and all of that. I would have loved for him to give you a little bit more than what we were able to see. But could you share with us when you came away from being there with him? Can you share with us what your thoughts were on him?
Yeah, and it was short because he was also with his son as well, so that's the reason why I kept it kind of short.
Yeah,
and it was so impromptu. I didn't want to take that moment away from his kid. But he was very cool, very, very cool dude. He kind of lightened up. I guess when he seen I was in there to troll him or whatnot, lightened up. Very, very cool dude. What is that? Kind of, what is that? They approachable. He's an approachable person and shit. Even though Sugar Hill looked nervous, but I'm like, I'm not afraid of folks. So I'm walk up on you, all you can say is no. So, but he was very, very approachable and started getting cool. He got real, real cool. While doing the interview, you hear him talking what he gonna do to the folks, take the mask off to show his face, who he is. But very, very cool dude, man. Seems down to earth. I think a lot of stuff what he does on TV is possibly to kind of build stuff up. You got to add some things that kind of shock and awe people to draw attention to a lot of things. But to be honest, and even like Wilder, before they get into this point, Wilder seemed to respect the guy, and that's how he seems to come off as. He's a very, very cool dude. Sugar Hill as well. Sugar Hill, very cool, approachable dude. He even spoke about when he came on the Fred show and did an interview. He's remembering that. I don't know if he thought I was Drew Titan at one point when I was asking, but I told him I was the one who asked him about the gloves. I'm like, I'm the one that asked you about the gloves and stuff. So, and then he was like, yeah, but he was asking about Drew as well, about the things. But I was like, yeah, I'm not here for that glove situation. I just want to interview y'all, see what's going on. Want to get more into history. But me and Sugar Hill start talking as while he was looking to see where Fury was and was speaking about that one thing we talked about, where a lot of these guys in the sport don't pay attention to the sport. And I was like, man, why y'all do that? I'm like, there's so many of y'all who state that y'all don't follow boxing. Cause I'm like, we do more of the boxing with the historians, those who stay up with the current stuff on YouTube. Like we super dedicated, but we hear so many boxers that say they don't watch other fighters. They don't pay attention to the sport. When their fights are over, they don't even tune in to watching a fight. And he's like, yeah, you're kind of right. But he's like, yeah, when he's talking about, he brought up his uncle. He's like, Emmanuel always watch boxing. He's like, so yeah, you got a point about that. And I was just like tripping. I hear so many people in this sport, only in boxing. I don't hear that so much with the MMA side of things. They follow their sport. There's respect for it. But I think because there's a diminishing in the level of respect, and because of corruption that's been so rampant in the sport, that people get turned away. Even those who are involved in the sport get turned away from it. And I think that's a sad thing when you get trainers and fighters who kind of feel that way about the sport.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I was going to suggest that, Reggie, that probably because a lot of the corruption and the injustices that take place around the sport, the fighters, they when they do tune in, when they do take the time out to attend matches and stuff like that, they feel a lot like we do when, decisions are poor and these judges be messing around and stuff like that. So I think that they feel like because they are involved directly, it's kind of like an escape for them just to get away from the sport when they're not, in that situation where they got the judges aiming their sights at them, and things like that. So it's like if it were going along in a more merry way, like merry as in Merry, merry, if it was going along in a more merry way, they probably would be more inclined to want to be around and to be more personable and things like that. But because of, the shadiness that's transpiring and a lot of these promoters and how they're working, and it's just like the fighters probably feel like, man, forget this. They can't call upon me until it's time for me to fight. You know what I'm saying? So I do get a genuine feeling about that. I mean, what are your thoughts?
No, I think that's absolutely what it is. I think a lot of that corruption and other things, bad judgments in fights and everything else that where there's a joy to the sport, there is also a thing that kills the sport within that sense of the game. And even some of the, like even going back with trainers to where trainers even deal with fighters, they fall out. I forgot that something came across the channel today where somebody was addressing, I think it was a former fighter who was addressing the issues between trainers and fighters over money. And I think that could be a thing that kind of kills away a lot of the passion of where you deal with disingenuine people even on the fighter trainer level, to where a trainer has taught this kid everything, but this kid begins to change once money comes in and other influences. And even last night there was, people were having great discussions about the changes that occur with Mike Tyson once money start coming in, and other people having their influences and swaying him away from those who were probably the most, probably the best suited for his career, and possibly him, not turning, left on the road and making as far as his training where it went. And I think these are the things that turns these dudes away, like you said, to get away from the sport is their escape. And probably all the history, because boxing, man, that's why I don't engage in a lot of this bashing these folks. Sometimes, you talk about them for not fighting this and that, but there's so much that goes on with these fighters. And even with bringing these older fighters in, these retired fighters, you hear so much of the story and so much of the pain. Even listening to Michael Grant last week on Drew's show, what he spoke about, and then even what he's speaking about with Chris Bird, and it seemed like he was speaking about him having some hard financial times. Those are the things that tear at these folks. And even even with you have recently with Danny Jacobs and Rozier, to where Danny Jacobs breaks away in loyalty with him. You see Andy Ruiz do it with the trainer that got him to the point of where he becomes the first Mexican heavyweight to achieve a level of success, and then just ultimately get kicked to the curb. Well, this dude is a dude who treated this kid as a son, and you deal with that level of disloyalty, you deal with it from the promoters, and that could be the thing. And that's where the sport has to clean itself up, man. That's why other organizations and industries protect their brands. They get rid of people who are a toxic to the sport. You hear about the NFL, even though NFL doesn't hold that standard consistently. They got so many those standards, but they do hold true to protecting the shield. They deal with any bad apples within that industry, they get rid of them. Dana White has done it as well in that UFC. Then they do things to keep that shield and keep the value of what those sports and the organizations are supposed to uphold. Boxing doesn't do it, because if boxing did it, and the regulations and enforcements of it were greater, you wouldn't have people who currently still violate the Ali Act, promoters who lock in and who don't have the best of interests when it comes into the financial obligations of fighters. We recently see Bob Arum going through it and having issues with his fighter making a lot of money, having issues when another promoter wants to make a purse bid for a fight because it's supposed to be some unwritten rule. So it's just that speaking openly about that is about how these guys are here to stick it to these fighters rather than to look out for the best of interest. And it's nothing worse to watch a warrior go out here and get underpaid, undercut by a promoter who's filling his pockets, only to get mad when a fighter ends up gaining and outdoing him to try to ultimately destroy him. And that's the foulness within the sport. And that's what kills off a lot of these folks. A lot of these folks go in here with passion. You get fighters who deliberately lose fights because they don't want to be in this situation with this promoter that they didn't got locked and tracked into because they didn't pay attention to a contract. You get lawyers that get caught up in these schemes. They get brought and bribed by a promoter. They represent this kid, but rip him off, get him to sign on this contract. That, like, you deal with all that type of ill stuff that people don't look at only in the sport of boxing. That's shady as hell like this. Because boxing doesn't protect the shield. It doesn't protect what the brand is supposed to be. And if it did, it would protect these fighters away from these promoters. But even with that Ali Act, we see on a daily where that act still gets violated, and it's bad.
Yeah. And I think the fighters that, kind of fool with us as far as, coming on our shows and having, conversations with us and everything, they kind of appreciate us doing what we do to that extent, because it gives them a chance to, kind of disclose things without really disclosing. In other words, when you're being interviewed and you ask something, you can put things out there in the air to allow, certain information to get dropped, and you can leave it up to to the listeners and viewing audience's discretion to the, oh, I understand what he's saying, even though he's not saying a lot, but he's, he's giving insight. So I think they do have a appreciation for us existing now, because this is kind of new, just within the past few years, us being out here with our channels, being able to interview these guys and get their stories out there and get, the experiences that they're having and the experience behind the scenes out there. So I think that that's a positive thing. And as long as we can maintain that respect and have the respectability of being out here to have them to come out and disclose more or interact with us more so than old media who don't really focus on certain things, and sweep other things under the rug as well. I think we are in a very positive role when we do that. I mean, don't you feel that as well?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's why I tell these fighters. There's a video of me telling Shakur Stevenson that about 2 years ago as well.
Yeah. So, and man, you got to stop doing things to get your channel in jeopardy, Reggie, because you've had so much good content, and you have to understand when you start over, yeah, it's okay to start up another channel or whatever, but the body of work that you've done that has laid the groundwork for certain things, it's like we need that, bro. And we don't need to lose that, because that stuff is good quality stuff. I've backed you, since I've come on the scene and found out about you, because you do a variety of things, but there has always been something that has been worth the while, and something that is like, we needed that there or whatever. So I just hope that you find a way to be able to maintain that, because I don't like to see you lose your creative process. You know what I mean? And that's just an endorsement for me. It's not being critical. It's just me saying and acknowledge a lot of what you do is needed in the community. So, just, man, if you can store some stuff on some files or something like that after you've created, because when they do that, it's damaging, because it's like, man, I can remember I was telling you a lot of your shows that you've done in the early hours when I'm getting up going for work and everything, and just to be able to listen to some of your content, on my way to work. It's like a lot of that stuff. You guys have had some tremendous shows. You know what I mean? Just wanted to say that.
Right on, man. I appreciate that, man. I'm working on not getting all these strikes, but I'm doing better at it. I'm doing way better at not getting all these strikes, and I'll be with 0 in a minute. So I'm doing pretty good now.
Yeah. I want to take a quick moment and acknowledge some of our channel members here. We got Bruce Goes out there. I know we were chatting it up here, opening up the show, Bruce Goes, but I want to acknowledge you. And I know my man DT is out there as a member, and Mike 202. You brothers have joined Stormybman channel as members, and I really appreciate your support in doing so. And for everybody else that's fallen into the building so far, we got Eric R out there, Watcher is out there, KP from KC is out there, Rasheed Rourke is out there. Who else we got? I think I caught up. We got Ryan O'Rourke out there. And he's offering up his thoughts about Deontay Wilder, but this is not really about Deontay Wilder. So, Tone Brown, and I think that's it. I shouted everybody's names out. Appreciate everybody's out there. If you didn't hit that like button when you came in, please do so while you're listening in or before you check out. Reggie, earlier in the week, we had a PBC broadcast fight, FS1, and or it just was it was it FS1 or just regular Fox? I think it was regular Fox. But we had a broadcast where we saw a battle between Frank Martin and Jerry Perez. And these two guys faced off Tuesday night out there. And for a Tuesday night fight, man, it took me back to Tuesday Night Fights, the TV show. I was glad to see the boxing match. And it turned out to be quite entertaining. Were you able to check out any of that?
No, I didn't. I didn't even know they had a fight till after it was over.
Man, it turned out to be a pretty good fight. Martin, who is trained by Derek James, came out there, southpaw, and he was putting it on Perez. Well, Perez early on, he looked like he was trying to, be the aggressive with, cutting the ring off, trying to cut the ring off and everything. But Martin had hand speed, Reggie. I mean, his hand speed was really, really good. And he was not letting his hands go at first. He was just blocking, countering. And it's funny because the brother Kurt Sugar sent me a text and was like, man, this guy needs to let his hands go. And I was like, yeah, I agree. You know what I mean? But it turned out that once he started letting his hands go, you could see the difference in the ability between the two fighters. I mean, he was just so much faster with his hand speed, and the punch that he dropped Jerry Perez with was off of the jab. He was throwing combinations, but it was off the jab, and he threw that kind of like a left hook, which it could have been like a right hook if he was orthodox. And Perez never saw it, man. It was like, boom, right on the chin. And he fell back stiff on the floor. And he looked like he was thinking about getting up. And then he did rise up. But it was Martin's night, man. He really took that fight away from him. And he ended up getting that stoppage in that round. But I liked what I saw from Martin. And I'm saying to myself, I'm like, uh-oh. Derek James got another one. It's like, man, if they don't start giving this brother his credit for some of the talent that he is cultivating out there. What are your thoughts on Derek James and his what he's doing with the sport right now with his fighters, Reggie?
Yeah, but these fools don't stop the show with him, man. If I would reject these awards if I was Derek James. They have tarnished what a trainer of the year means anymore. They have injected so much of the racial factor in it to trainers who aren't even worthy of it, to where he should just, I don't even think he really cares about it. He just continues to do his thing, produce these champions, and forget the recognition, because they have junked over what a trainer of the year award means. It's almost like holding the WBC belt. It don't mean anything. It doesn't stop anything. Same thing with a Grammy. It's a bunch of crap because they have injected so much of racism in it to keep non-black people relevant within the sport by trying to throw awards on top of them. I don't even think people pay attention to the awards show. They tarnish that with giving all the awards to Freddie Roach. That's my thoughts on it. But I like that he has just keep producing these fighters. Just keep producing, and that's what he's doing.
And salute to L-Dub Boxing out there in the chat. He says that Martin was giving me Gary Russell Jr. vibes in that fight. Good performance. Yes, sir. That's what I thought about too, L-Dub. When I saw him, when he finally started letting his hands go, because early on, he was just blocking, countering, sticking a jab, kind of moving around a little bit, but he wasn't punching very much. And then, boy, when he started punching, I'm like, yeah, that looked like Gary Russell, all right. It sure did. And Derek James, when he came back to the corner, because I didn't catch the ring walk and stuff, so I didn't know who's Martin's cornerman or anything. But when I saw after that first round, when he came back to the corner, it was Derek James. I was like, oh. And then I saw the talent of the guy, and I'm like, oh, okay. So I'm looking at it like, wow, it's great to see these trainers who are successful, like James, not only does he have Spence and Mel, to see him have this young man here too, and then I'm sure he may have some others, but it's great to see a stable of fighters being successful and having their own styles. Because when a coach is training someone, the real depthness of that coach is when he has fighters who fight different styles, and he's still presiding over them and guiding them through their careers, because you don't want everybody to fight the same kind of way or whatever. So taking different talents and mixing it all up and having these guys be successful in the manner that they're experiencing, that's great stuff. I remember Emmanuel Stewart, and you mentioned him a moment ago. It's like when the Kronk was really hot and in its heyday, that's what you had there. You had all these different type of fighters that were under Emmanuel Stewart there in the Kronk gym. So it's great to see that. And I hope for more success for Derek James with what he's doing over, man. That's outstanding stuff. So,
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So also earlier in the week, Reggie, it wasn't like a big announcement or anything like that, but we did get news that a purse bid was won for Matchroom to get this Philippe Hergovic and Mike Hunter fight for an IBF eliminator for the heavyweight division. That's interesting. I had said Joshua was going to fool around and let these young fighters catch up to him in the division by being so inactive and fighting so infrequently and whatnot. And these men are on fast tracks to title shots. And because of his lack of development, I think that some of these guys may be real legitimate threats to his title reign. And I think what we're getting ready to start seeing, Reggie, is him vacating titles. Whichever one means the most to him, the sanctioning body that he's representing may be the one that he'll hold fast to. But I don't expect to see Anthony Joshua with all of those belts for much longer. And isn't it funny how even when Joshua lost to Andy Ruiz Jr., it wasn't even 7 days that they were talking about stripping Andy Ruiz. Do you remember that, Reggie?
Oh, no, I didn't remember. Oh, wait. I think I did. No, I don't quite remember that. No.
Yeah, it was within after he stopped Joshua in their first fight at the Garden, it was like within the first 7 days. The IBF, they were threatening stripping him if he don't defend their belt. And of course they had a rematch clause and everything, but it was like the talks were out there already. But since Joshua has won those belts back, you've heard nothing about anybody threatening to strip him or whatever. How is it that this young man can just hold all of these belts and not really fight people? That fight with Pulev, that to me was like a sparring session or it was kind of like a voluntary butt whooping over somebody that he was favored to beat anyway. But it took him forever to get Pulev out of there because Pulev wanted to go as early as the first or second round in that fight. And he was fooling around with this guy. But when you talk about these two fighters here who may be facing up, they just said that there's no venue yet. But Hergovic and Hunter, these two fighters are the type of fighters that might run him out of there for different reasons. We definitely know Hunter has guts. You know what I mean? And he has some ability. He's just more representing a undersized heavyweight in this era of all these tall trees out there. So, but his fight with Povetkin proved that he was, showing enough of that you would want to see him again. You know what I mean? So, but what are your thoughts on a potential fight like this, Reggie, where we're seeing they're talking about a possibility between Hrgovic and Hunter?
I think it's a good fight, man, and it could be a dangerous one because that dude Hrgovic, big kid, big puncher, and Hunter's a hungry fighter too, and it could be dangerous for Hrgovic as well if he goes in there underestimating a smaller heavyweight. But I think Hunter's ability to try to use speed. Hunter is good with his timing to step in and attack, move around. It's going to be a good styles matchup between those two. But he's also going to have to worry, or just not even say have to worry, because you don't want a fighter sitting there worrying and all that's on his mind is about the power of this guy. He has to fight his fight, and that's just to move, not get caught with anything. And we're going to have to see if Hrgovic can dig down and show something different, because once again, he can't just rely on trying to knock Michael Hunter out. Michael Hunter may make the right moves at the right second to absorb and take punches, and that power never shows up to affect this fighter, Michael Hunter, in the ring with him. And how well does Hrgovic adjust to the speed of Michael Hunter? Because Michael Hunter moves very well to be a heavyweight, and he's pretty explosive. We've seen what he was doing to Povetkin. I thought he got cheated. Once again, that's the sport of boxing, doing all this bull crap to rob a guy, because all they were doing for that was to try to set up Povetkin for some other type of event, or make him look better than, as him being a former AJ opponent, to make it, look a certain way that he wasn't just in here and almost, he was dominated by a guy who doesn't hold belts, who moved up from the cruiserweight division. I think that's behind kind of the scoring that went into ripping Michael Hunter off in that fight, where I think he dropped Povetkin like one or two times in that fight. This could be the same case with Hrgovic. I don't know about dropping Hrgovic, but being able to significant punches and be gone. Land, be gone. So it's going to be a good styles matchup. And does he take Hrgovic's power, being Hrgovic's is naturally bigger and stronger than him? But that's my thoughts on that.
Yes, sir. And before I go further, I just want to acknowledge my man D McGee out there in that Cash App with his donation to the channel. Appreciate you, D McGee. Appreciate your donation, man. And hope you're enjoying the show. We got a lot, to cover, man, but it's like we only have a certain amount of time, and we give this great boxing talk. It's just like last week, we had a couple more talking points that we wanted to get in there, but the conversation was just flowing. It's like, but that's what we try to do here on this channel. We try to give you sincere, straight up boxing talk, man. So appreciate that. Zenith out there, 360, he says, really good point. IBF was talking of stripping Ruiz because Usyk was the Mando. Now Usyk is still the Mando and nothing. And Eric R is out there. He says that, remember, Stormybman, Michael Hunter was one of the three who was supposed to get the Ruiz shot. Yeah, man, it's funny because when it comes to AJ, for whatever reason, they are really laxed on going after him or something, or making difficulty. It's almost like he's their company man. He's the guy that they all want there for whatever reason. And it's very interesting because he's one of the most vulnerable champions that I've seen in the sport in a long time. The guy is really vulnerable. The most he got, and I don't say this like because I don't like the guy. I say it because it's my observation. What he's got going for him, he looks the part. If you were gonna cast a heavyweight in a movie, AJ looks like the guy. You know what I mean? But there are a ton of other fighters out here who are the fighter, you know, but it's not him. And that's okay, because when he leaves boxing, maybe he can go and do some modeling work or whatever, this or that. But it's like, dude, if you're not going to get your butt in the ring and fight, go do that stuff right now. These belts have been, I mean, come on. How often is this guy fighting? He's fighting like every 18 months or something. And remember, he's trying to pretend like he's waiting around for the Tyson Fury thing, right? But he don't really have very much to do against Tyson Fury. I think that Fury beats him. I think this is just a more of a play where he can sit and hold on to those titles. I don't think it's him, you know, being out there. Because, I mean, he could take fights. I've heard people say stuff like, oh, the division is being held up, right? But Tyson Fury don't sign his checks, don't have, it's like he should be able to go out there and fight. He should fight 2-3 times. He's a young man. But I don't know. What are your thoughts, Reggie? I mean, AJ just is in the way, man. I just really feel that about him. He's in the way.
I mean, I like him as a fighter. I also like him as the person. In the ring, when I see him fight, I like what I see with him in the ring fighting. But as a person, he's weak. He's weak-minded. And he is holding up the division because he ain't getting fans the fights that they want to see. And I think
it's even more than that, Reggie. It's not just not giving the fights that we want to see. He's not really fighting. I mean, I marveled at this when he won the titles. When he won the titles, I think he was 24, 25 years old. He's like 30, 31 now. And how many fights has he had since he won the title? You could count them on one hand. And the inactivity, all of that. And let's mind you, I've stated, and this is just my opinion, no one has to agree with me, but he hasn't improved. He's still the same dude that knocked out Charles Martin for that first belt, man. To me. And I want more. And it's not wrong to want more, Reggie. It's not. Because it's capable. It's like having a demand of like, show me something, please do something. You know? This other kid that's a prospect, Anderson, that kid is fighting every couple of months. And he's getting better and better and better. And by the end of this year, he'll be ready for one of those belts. You know what I mean? It's like this is what you're seeing in the sport. And it's like, my goodness, when is it going to end? And it's not just the heavyweight division, it's throughout boxing. But when it's at the heavyweight division, you always have to remember the old mantra. As so go the heavyweights, so goes the rest of boxing. So, you know, that's my point of what I wanted to say there. I want to say salute to my man Curtis Anderson out there. He says, salute family. Salute to you, Kurt. I mean, and Reggie, I'm not, you know, even going at your thing of saying that you like him as a fighter, because that's fine. I'm like, get his butt in there and fight. You know, that's the thing. I want to see him fight somebody, especially when you have so-called easy victories, right? Like his so-called victory in his rematch with Ruiz. If that was such a piece of cake or whatever, why weren't you in there just a couple months later fighting again? And then when you did fight Pulev, you finally figured out what to do to him because he didn't really want to be in there anyway. You take him out, and it's like, okay, let's line up another one. There's been nothing. And like I said, this talk of Fury. But everybody knows, if you know the sport of boxing, Fury got unfinished business with the Wilder camp. So it's like, Why isn't AJ just doing his own thing? You got all those damn belts. I got this picture up on the screen. He's got 4 belts, Reggie. 4. Why is he waiting around for Tyson Fury? What's happening with him? He could be fighting people. He could be making money. But this is why I said it's like he's the company dude. He's that guy that they put on the poster and everything. You know? Somebody need to go out there and snatch that damn poster down and tear it down and be like, man, this is that old era. That's weak. Get that out of here. Let's get somebody out there who gonna fight.
No, the one thing I can say, they all the fighters are doing that, especially in the divisions where there's money locked into particular fighters. The one thing I do take away his heart is when it comes to facing Wilder, is where you see this absence of heart when it comes to AJ. But like I said, in that ring, the kid can fight. He can fight to me. But as the person, there is a level of fear that comes from him. There's a level of fear. But I've seen some people bring a dog up out of him. But also with the seeing the way he fought, who was that, Ruiz? I like the adjustment he made, because he can't get in there and bang with Ruiz. He had to get in there box, and he made the sacrifices and changes. And I gotta respect that. But the fighter as a person, you can see there's some chinks in the arm as far as bravery when it comes to him, and especially Wilder, and even looking to get this Fury fight. That's his most comfortable big money fight, is the fighting Tyson Fury. And I think that's what's got them at hold. They're looking to hold out. But all these fighters doing, you're looking at it in the welterweight division, you're looking at it in the middleweight division, you're looking at it at 175 division, you've seen it in the 135. It's a plague throughout the sport to where these dudes ain't active when they should be. The only active fighter we see in the sport is a heavyweight who's really kind of going through the prospect ring. But everyone else locked into the money situations, looking for these one big fights. You only seeing one fight a year out of them, and it's becoming a very common thing within the sport. But moving forward, I don't see too many heavyweights that beat these guys in the top 5. I just don't see it. And I'm not going to discount AJ's boxing skills. I just discount his heart, because he does lack it. But when he's in that ring, he is a serious guy that you stand across against.
Yeah, it's really weird, man. It's a strange thing. I want to go to a couple of comments in the chat where Zenith360 says, he says, agree, Wilder and Fury are held up in court. AJ has 3 belts, actually 4, because that IBO is a belt. He's and instead of taking control of the division, he waiting on other Fury. But this is the thing. I don't think that he's really waiting on that, because he can't. That's a fight that's not on the table for him right now, because these men have unfinished business. Why are you, a titleist with multiple unified belts, waiting around for a guy who has 1 belt and is locked into a situation where that if it's not mandated that Fury and Wilder fight again for their rubber match, is probably going to be the belt has to be vacated by Fury if he doesn't want to fight Wilder. And then it's going to mean that someone is going to have to fight possibly Wilder for that belt. So, AJ never wanted to fight Wilder anyway. So why is he waiting around for them? It don't make sense to me. It just don't make sense. And then Jimmy Boxing out there in the chat, he says, salute, gents. Salute to you, Jimmy Boxing. He says, how come the only belt Dillian can fight for is the WBC? Shaking my head. Absolutely. This is what I'm talking about. It's posturing and foolishness, man, that it just doesn't make any sense to me. And you see no one else is making moves in the sport. And for people who want to say, well, Wilder got the division on lockdown. No, he don't. Because Wilder is in a position where either way, he's a contender now. And he has to get back in there to get an opportunity to fight for the belt that he lost. But, again, why is everyone else standing around? It's like when you go to the roller rink and ain't nobody skating. Everybody's sitting down just listening to the music. And then, you got people out there that I'm gonna skate to the music, and they get out there, and then somebody else will follow, and then people start moving around. But it's like nobody's doing anything. These guys are just kind of like waiting in the pool or whatever, in the waiting pool or something. And you got multiple titles. And why aren't those other organizations, the WBA, the IBF, why aren't they mandating? You got to fight, man, the WBO. Huh? Why aren't they mandating he fight somebody? I just don't understand this. Anytime somebody else wins those belts and it's a guy who might have upset somebody or a guy that they have been trying to keep outside of title possession, they always throwing mandatories and mandates and demands at the guy right away. Oh, we need you to do this within 90 days. We need you to do this within 60 days. You got to fight this guy next. And they always do that to people. But they ain't never put no pressure on AJ for nothing. And you guys can't see this? It's like, come on. And I'm not putting AJ down as a fight. I want to see him fight somebody. Fight. And he's just like sitting on the sideline taking photos and stuff. Doing these stupid gym videos and stuff like that. Where you hitting pads and stuff. It's like, really? Man, who you are is determined by what you do in that ring. Not in the gym with videotapes and stuff. Get out of here with that foolishness, man.
Yeah, the one more thing I want to add to it, man, and this deals with what AJ benefited from, and that's clauses in a contract. And the other reason why I want to see all these dudes fight, but I think there also needs to be honor within the sport. There was a thing called that rematch contract, which helped this guy to retain his belts, to get another opportunity. And now he's becoming a staunch supporter of a contract violation along with his promoter, who were so animated about the fact that they have a contract clause and they're going right back into it. I think there was talks of where Ruiz talking about fighting someone else or something. Eddie Hearn was big on what would happen if he decided to go elsewhere, but now they're trying to, bring into this kind of ignoring what was written into a contract and agreement between two fighters before they went into their championship belt and the title switching hands. Nah, you honor these contracts, because you can also set precedents to where now many people can start violating the rules and terms and agreements put into a contract and taking away these opportunities that fighters agreed upon and going about taking opportunities from people. So I think even more fighters, I think, should support that aspect of the game, because you don't want guys coming in here doing whatever the heck. You sit at a negotiation table, you make these agreements, and then some third party dude comes in here trying to sway things. And it's kind of the common thing in this sport, where you get people come in here, come after the fact, and they do this backroom stuff, under the table stuff. You done raise up a fighter, you got someone coming up next to him trying to whisper in his ear to get him to sign over and throwing shade and dirt on you. And that's kind of what this situation seems like. You signed a contract, rematch clause, you got to honor it. Let these two fighters honor it, because also, and you think, what's his name? Eddie Hearns would be respectable of it, because the contract clause is what helped him to get the opportunity to get a second shot. But that's my thing, because otherwise it changes everything about these contracts. And when it comes to giving other fighters opportunities of trying to retain their titles, or see if it's a one-off thing, see how they shake things out, fighting multiple times to see who's really the best of the two men. But that's my thoughts on that.
Skinny Kenny out there in the chat, he says, when the boxers are young and beginning, they fight a lot. But when they become stars and champions, they fight less because they get paid more. I don't really, you know what? If you fight more frequently, wouldn't you be getting paid even more? So it's really not about how much that they're earning. It's about how they're angling the sport. And Xena 360 says AJ being unified is missing an opportunity to take over the division and lead the division. He not being a leader. That's because he's a vulnerable champion. See, you can't get around that, right? Guys out here listening and Reggie, you can't get away from the fact that AJ is definitely a vulnerable champion, a guy who is pretty much 50-50 when he goes out there against anybody that's a real contender. But this is what you signed up for. This is not like, you signed up to have a cheat sheet or the easy skate through the whole career. And when you misleading, misleading the fans, that's something that, when people begin to despise you, it happens for a reason. If you were in there, if AJ was in there fighting wars and getting knocked down and has to pull a fight out at the last minute and stuff like that, people would love that. Being a vulnerable fighter, they would love that. But he's not even doing that, And Skinny Kenny says the networks and promoters don't want to pay them big money 3 times or more per year. Listen, if they're fighting the fights that they should fight, the promoters would love that money. But it's also a sense of like having possession. Like the fact that the UK has a heavyweight champion right now. That's the thing, right? We want to hold on to this as long as we can. Well, if he don't fight, but every 18 months, you could hold on to that probably another couple of years. Because then when you start doing the Keith Thurman thing, or like you got soft tissue injuries that don't show up on MRIs and stuff like that, you like, oh, I had a hurt this, or I had my, this or that was hurting, so I couldn't fight. Those are the kind of things that'll keep you out extra time too. But then again, where are the sanctioning bodies putting you in recess so somebody else can fight for those belts like it's happened in other divisions, huh? And then you can fight for it when you get healthy again. No, they're not doing that for certain fighters. This is how you know it's angled. It's all crap. And you guys should be up in arms about this. AJ should have fought once already this year. In the first quarter of the year, he should have been fighting somebody because that Pulev fight was trash. Okay? Should be fighting somebody. And Skinny Kenny says Eddie and AJ are bluffing the Fury fight to stall out Usyk and Joyce. Then AJ will drop the belt to them and get it back in-house. No Wilder or Fury fights and a reasoned duck. Listen, man. See, Skinny Kenny might not be 100% accurate on that, but he's definitely in the ballpark because this is the kind of foolishness that goes on. And if you love AJ, it's like you're thinking, oh, he's cool. He's our man. He's got the belt. But he ain't fighting nobody. He ain't fighting anyone. And then you got guys like Joe Joyce and Usyk who they have fought people. They have earned a right? And it's like they're sitting on the sidelines. And yeah, they could fight each other, but the winner of that will still be fighting, sitting on the sidelines, waiting. And I'm just wondering, how long is this foolishness going to go on? And in the meantime, MMA, UFC, and all of that is getting bigger and bigger and bigger and taking over because people are walking away from the sport of boxing. They're like, wow. And as I said, as so go the heavyweights, so goes the rest of boxing. You're seeing it, man. You're seeing it. It's ridiculous. You got something on that, Reggie?
No, dang. I had one aspect I wanted to touch on, and I should have wrote it down. Dang.
If it comes to you, we could still talk about it. If it comes to you.
Right.
I want to move forward and talk about DAZN a little bit. the zone is starting to heat up, man, with their cards, Reggie. You remember they were starting out at first where you helped me where I could see some of the matches early on, and they had those long cards, right? 20 fights on the card. It's like you'd be up from sun up to sundown and into the wee hours of the night or morning watching those DAZN cards. But they've gotten a little better about, you know, cutting the number of bouts down on the card. And I have to say, almost every show now, every fight card, there is at least one fight on that card that's pretty good. You know what I mean? So they are, you know, they turned a corner here. They're still not where they need to be, but they've turned a corner. And it's going to be interesting going forward to see what happens with them. But I'm really interested in seeing fights like coming up in May. I think it's actually, wait a minute. Just a second here. Yeah, coming up in May 29th, it's supposed to be Devin Haney taking on Linares. And that fight right there is a nice fight for the DAZN card. Now, it's a fight for Devin Haney and his position where he, you know, you see him there with his WBC strap over his shoulder, that Teofimo is claiming that he's the undisputed fighter, but he hasn't lifted that belt off of Haney yet. But this is the kind of fight that we like to see a young fighter like Devin Haney, who has the talent that he has, you know, fight. Linares is an experienced veteran, former champion that has been around, been in some real good scrape-ups. He may not be what he once was or whatever, but that experience factor is always good. So when you put a young fighter in with a more seasoned fighter who has something, you know, to offer or whatever, he can only get better, or he'll be at a point where something gets shown to him where he may need to work on some things and shore himself up. But I look forward to seeing a fight like that, because Devin Haney needs opponents and he needs fighters. But am I saying Linares is going to give him a hard fight and this and that? No, I'm saying that's an experienced fighter, a good fight for him, because he can take the experience of whatever the outcome of that is going forward and hopefully get a better opponent in the next fight or whatever. He's still really a young kid, but he has some talent that is above average. So we want to see him in some fights where he can really produce. So what are your thoughts on that one coming up next month?
Yeah, I just want to see how Devin Haney handles him. I think the last opponent I remember seeing Linares in there with was Vasily Lomachenko, and giving him a very tough fight, able to drop him. Gave him a very, very tough fight, and just see what Devin Haney goes in here and presents, being he's a young fighter going in here against an experienced fighter, what adjustments he makes, or if he's able to just control this fight and just blow out the older fighter. Being Linares ain't that old, I ain't gonna play him like that, but and what does Devin Haney look out for? How well does he protect himself, keep his defense clean, doesn't get hit with the unnecessary shots, being he is an athletic fighter, just how clean of a fight he can make it, how far he can separate himself against the Linares. And the other thing he has to worry about his own fight. And I think a lot of these young fighters in this current division, amongst this current group, they sit here and they worry about the grade that the grade they receive from their counterparts. And I think a lot of them have to kind of play away from that. Too many of them, they're very critical of grading each other. Oh, you did this against this fighter, this and that didn't happen. So I think he just has to focus on himself, kind of tunnel vision the rest of these guys and their criticisms. But that's my thoughts. Let me go get this dog real quick.
Yeah, tame that Doberman there, Reggie. But yeah, that this it's a good fight for Devin Haney. Again, I discussed this earlier in the chat talking about Haney, and it's the type of fight that you want to see a fighter like him that has the pedigree that he has to see what he has to offer. You know what I mean? And he can get in there. Maybe Linares can show him a few tricks or whatever that will help him, make some adjustments and still have to work to earn that victory or whatever. But it's not me trying to say, oh, Linares is going to beat him or anything like that, or even question his ability to be successful. It's just more of the situation of recognizing when you have a young fighter like Devin Haney, you kind of want him to go through that growing process where he has some fights that will determine you can make determinations of his skills and his abilities. It's just one of those things. So that's why I mentioned that. So, but no more, no less. You back, Reg?
Yeah, I'm back.
Yeah. Another fight that is on the horizon. Forgive me, I don't know the date of it yet, if it has been announced what the date is, but that's of that similar ilk with one of his contemporaries, is this Ryan Garcia and Javier Fortuna fight, Reggie. That fight right there is another one of these fights that when you talk about these young guys and you want to see where they are. Now, I think that this is an even stiffer test for Garcia, if this is the fight that he's going to fight, because Fortuna is definitely the kind of guy that could play Mr. Upset, in this situation. What are your thoughts coming into this one?
Yeah, I think it's a very, very tough fight for Ryan, man. This dude Fortuna is a rugged, very, very rugged fighter, man. And he's a fighter who'll beat up on you as well. And want to see how
he got that little bit of a mean streak in him like that. If he can do it, he'll do it to you.
Yeah, he's a mean dude. And we're gonna have to see how well Ryan can play against the bully. Does he freeze up? Does he shell up? And is he going to keep that chin from being up in the air? Because he's going to get caught with that southpaw punching that Fortuna throws. And Fortuna likes to throw up. He likes to throw up. He likes to throw up his shots. And if your chin up there, he's going to connect to it. So Ryan's going to have to figure some things out, man. But Fortuna's going to have to keep himself out the way of the punches too, because Ryan Garcia is very fast. And I think his power comes through that velocity on his punches. He throws very, very fast punches. He's able to get the knuckles turned over, deliver some very solid shots. So we'll have to see. It's going to be a tough fight for both of them, but I think it's going to probably be tougher for Ryan Garcia, being he's the one who's looking to stay undefeated. And if he ain't able to get tough, he wants to play model boxing, he gonna go in here and get roughed up, and it's probably gonna be embarrassing, because he did have a fight. Ryan Garcia had a fight like that where he got that kind of gifted decision where a fighter went in and was bullying him, and he kind of didn't show too much of a willingness to try to bully his way back through. He faced a little adversity in that fight against Luke Campbell, who ain't too much of a bullying type, but I think this is a style that pushes Ryan Garcia, so I want to see what happens in it.
Yeah, man. And again, if you want to consider yourself, hot stuff, these are the kind of fights you're gonna have to face, man. You're gonna have to get in there with guys. Who knows? Garcia might land something on Fortuna and get him out of there. I don't think that'll be the way it goes like that, but at the same time, you want to see the fighters tested. Am I waiting and anxious to see Garcia lose or Devin Haney lose? No, I just want to see them in competitive fights. I want to see their growth. I want to see them become real fighters that can retain and defend titles, not just win a title. Because, there's so many belts out there now. It's easy to win a belt now. It's but that doesn't really... That's not the merit in the sport anymore. because there's so many that's been devalued, but it's who you beat. Garcia beats a guy like Javier Fortuna. He will be given some credit for doing so because that's a real challenge right there. And again, isn't that what we're stating? We're saying that we want to see the best of matches between the fighters. This is all we want. If Linares happens to be tougher for Haney than originally thought, that doesn't mean that Haney ain't nothing. It just means that Linares is the type of fighter that's going to give a young, inexperienced fighter some trouble. He gave Lomachenko some trouble, even though Lomachenko is not a young fighter, but he still tested him. He still asked some questions of Loma. You know what I mean? So, and that's at the end of the day, that's what we like to ask for. And salute to L-Dub in the chat out there. He says the date for Garcia and Fortuna is July 9th. So thanks for that, L-Dub. Like I said, the resident stat man, he has it, bro. But any final thoughts on that one, Reggie?
No, but that's dang. These fights be long. It'll be far out.
Huh?
I was saying, dang, these fights be far out. Saying July, man.
Yeah, but you know what? It comes up on us so fast, man. It really does. And when I decided to talk about them, it's because, remember, the title of the show I had is Scrambling for Matchups. We're talking about trying to get these guys into some fights that we want to see, and some of them are spread out. Look at what's right before us. Nothing's happening. Nothing. And it's like, this is what should make people kind of be in an uproar. Tank Davis knocked out Santa Cruz. He should be in the ring right now or getting ready to get in the ring. He don't even have a fight, that's on the horizon. They don't even know where he's going to fight at. He's talking about 140 and this and that. And it's like, I thought they said after he fought Santa Cruz that he wanted to stay down there where he was. And it's like, all of this is just, oh man, it's a headache. It really is. It's a headache, man. A headache and a half, So, I don't know. It's just a thought though, to try to see your way into these situations where the fighters do something. Taking a moment out, Reggie, to even consider the women's division, man, where now this chick, Savannah Marshall, she's really, really calling out Clarissa Shields and everything, and she acting like she want that smoke. I know that a lot of fighters, and Ryan has been guilty of this most recently, using another fighter's name to build themselves up. I think Savannah is doing the same thing, because I saw an interview where Clarissa Shields was talking and she was saying, well, if Eddie get the money right, she ain't got no problem going in there with her. But she also offered this. She says, but once she gets her butt beat, it's going to be over for her. So as long as she could be out there calling for Clarissa and talking this and fighting everybody else that she can beat or whatever, it's easy pickings for her. But once she does get in there with Clarissa and Clarissa beats her, it's a done data. So it's like, what are your thoughts on that, Reggie?
So, oh man, if Savannah gonna talk all that mess, man, she need to be serious about fighting Clarissa and are making a name for herself. I think Savannah, I just recently started hearing about her name, and that's through her calling out Clarissa after that last fight. But she has to be serious. Clarissa's going over into MMA, so Marshall has time to kind of build her name up, walk through the division, and showcase more. Put her in the next fight. It ain't gonna be that easy to get a Clarissa Shields fight. Clarissa probably be out for a few more months. By in between time, that lady Savannah Marshall should be getting back in the ring. It ain't that Carissa's just being out from being inactive. She's getting into crossing over to the other side. and then being back over in boxing. So Marshall got time if she's serious about it, or otherwise she's just using her name for clout. And she's done a pretty good job at it, being that she's calling out Clarissa Shields, and now people have taken notice to who Savannah Marshall is. And I think she earned a stoppage in her last fight, and she's famous for being the last person to beat Clarissa Shields as an amateur. But I think those tables will turn here in the pros.
Yeah, I never saw the amateur fight, but was that like a close points decision victory or something?
That I don't know. I always hear people talk about it, but never going into detail what happened in the fight.
Yeah, and the amateurs are the amateurs, you know what I mean? Clarissa has come into the pros, and she done beat a lot of chicks up, and moved down doing it. So it's like, wow, she's doing her thing. The one thing I will say about Marshall is, in that last fight that I saw her with, the woman that she was in there with was not someone that was formidable. She was someone there to go, and when I say go, meaning to get taken out. So it's just one of those things where you're not gonna know about Savannah unless she fights somebody more formidable. Now, what was the woman's name that Clarissa fought where, that woman talked a lot of stuff too, and her trainer got hurt by Clarissa's brother? What was that woman's name, Reggie?
Dang, I can't think of it. She got some foreign name. I know you're talking about. I can't think of her name.
Was it Hammer?
No, it wasn't Hammer. Nuh-uh.
Okay. Maybe L Dub can tell us in the chat. But that woman there, maybe Savannah should fight somebody like that, Clarissa's leftovers. Because, people like to compare, and see, like, let her fight someone that was supposedly good that Clarissa fought, and we see if she's got the right stuff. I know Hannah Gabriels is still out there. Yeah, let's see her get in there with that lady and see what she could do, and we got our lady Francine Cruz Discern. She's out there. So let's see, get in there. You think you bad? Don't just call out Clarissa. Call out the other contenders and former champions that are formidable. Go in there and like you said, build your brand up and everything, and then let somebody say, "Oh, we want to see her in there with Savannah now." I mean, see Savannah in there with Clarissa now, but not just because you're gonna call her name and expect her to give you a great payday or whatever, and you ain't even earned nothing. So yeah, but that's what. And I want to go back to the chat real quick, Reggie. 2 comments by Skinny Kenny. He said, "Stormybman, I think the fighters like AJ will fight bums 4 to 5 times a year, but if it's not pay-per-view, the promoters only make gate money. The network is going to look closely at your ratings." Then he says that gate money promoters' big take is limited now due to the pandemic, except for a couple of USA states. That's why the big heavyweight fight stalls out. No, man, they were doing this before the pandemic, bro. They were doing this foolishness before the pandemic. Remember all that posturing, acting like they were going to send Wilder an offer and this and that, and then there was no, information filled in on the contract, no rematch clauses, and they were talking about a flat fee and all of that. Remember all of that? That was all, and that stuff went on for months. It wasn't just a few weeks. It went on for months. And Wilder tried his best to make that fight, and they weren't trying to do it. It was like, and this is what it is. So, but yeah, those are my thoughts about the Savannah Marshall and Clarissa Shields, Reggie. And as much as I don't want to see Clarissa go into MMA, hey, because she hasn't been doing that all her life. If she had been doing it for a number of years, like some of the other women who have done that stuff, like Lucia Riker was always dabbling in and out of kickboxing and MMA kind of fighting and this and that, and did boxing too, that would be different. But she's been, it's like you got a football player and he gonna try to go play in the NBA or something. I don't know, man. I don't know. You got any final thoughts on that?
What about Shields over in the MMA?
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I've always said this. I think boxers transition well over into that side of combat. It's boxing is an art, and I think it matches up with what they do. There's a lot of women who have transitioned over into MMA because of the financial opportunities, and they have become champions. I think boxing is a great base for it. The other things adding into it is being able to defend things that you aren't good at. Because a lot of the ones who we see successful in mixed martial arts, a lot of people assume that these are people who start out as kung fu artists, karate artists, and things like that. A lot of them come from collegiate wrestling and have adapted a lot of that other stuff and trying to pick up on other tools they picked up. So a boxer can learn just what these wrestlers have learned going over into that sport. There's no difference. I think it's just what Dana White has done is trying to protect that shield, is acting as if MMA fighters are that much greater than what boxers are. And I have always disagreed with it. And I think a boxer would transition very easy over there. It's the opposite for MMA fighters. So some MMA fighters can box. Some of them may be able to develop into gaining tools in the boxing, a small percentage of them. But I think a boxer can go over there. Everything in MMA ain't about kicks. Not every fighter in the MMA can take you down. Boxers are strong. A boxer will use his mind. Most people just get caught in the mind that a boxer is going to go in there with their hands up, throwing punches like it's a boxing match. To defend stuff, same way you got to defend and dodge and duck and watch out the way of punches. A boxer with great mobility, not how James Toney, who was out of shape, went into it, because that's what people try to base off that transition into boxing and MMA off of what James Toney went there and did. James Toney didn't have his mobility. If James Toney was a mobile style fighter, he would have had great success in MMA. And being strong enough, physically strong enough, you ain't got to engage. That dude dominates the heavyweights, is a boxer. His trainer is a boxer, and he's implementing the other stuff. So a fighter will learn. She's learning. So I think she'll have some success over there. And plus, she's a woman. A lot of women in these combat sports aren't, decorated years upon years of these arts. Carissa is, and that's why she has these advantages in boxing. She's probably been doing it since she was a young girl. That's my thoughts on it.
And salute to the brother Blue Blood Sports TV out there. I didn't see him at first because I was talking and everything, but salute to Blue Blood. He says it was a point system victory, and it was controversial, the Clarissa Shields and Savannah Marshall fight in the amateurs. And he says they said Clarissa only landed 13 total punches when she was averaging 30 a fight. That's ridiculous, man. That's that kind of like, Roy Jones kind of thing or whatever. I don't know, man. It's like, that's why it's like, it's tough when it comes down to that. But I'm sure Clarissa will put plenty of punches on her in the pros, though. I will almost guarantee you that. She gonna put them beams on her, bro. Yeah, so, and salute to Blue Blood for stopping by. Appreciate you being out there, Blue Blood. Yeah, Reggie, let's kind of get into what's supposed to be taking place tomorrow, man, on ESPN. We got this card where these guys are gonna be mixing it up. I know on the undercard we got forgive me trying to get on the undercard. We got Berlanga is taking on Nicholson, and this is another top ranked ESPN card, and a lot of people feel like Nicholson is going to be the first guy to get out of that first round with Berlanga, Reggie, and they state also that Berlanga's not the kind of guy who's going in for the knockouts. It just so happens he's got heavy hands, and he does, some things. He's intimidating to fighters and things like that and whatnot. And then when you have that knockout streak, some people freeze up and lock up when it's stuff like that. So he's got like 16 fights and 16 KOs, something like that, on the warpath for a record. What are your thoughts on this fight taking place tomorrow night?
Berlanga gonna thrash him. Yeah, Berlanga gonna mash him, bro.
What do you say, Reg? You gonna get him up out of there, huh? And go into his double parked car awaiting outside.
Yeah, he may toss him out the ring, do him like Tommy Hearns did Martin. But this dude's been stopped by Jesse Hart. He been stopped by some other dude. He about to get tossed up. It's about to look good again for Berlanga.
When they have that novelty act going like that, they ride that sucker for a long time, bro. It's like until the wheels fall off, as they say, because that sells tickets, man. It puts butts in the seats. When you got a guy banging people out like that. Remember Butterbean? Butterbean wasn't even he was like a tough man contest fighting guy, and he got on ESPN and was knocking out all these dudes. Man, he ended up getting a fight with Larry Holmes, man. It was like, what the hell? Of course, that was the old Larry Holmes, not the world champion Larry Holmes. But still, it's like when they get those novelty acts like that, man, they run it in. But I'm not calling Berlanga a novelty act, but the knockout streak is something that they like to sell and promote. So I think personally, as soon as he gets in there with some people that can take a punch and can box, that's when we're going to see what he got, because he's going to have to go rounds, And there are a couple of fighters out there in boxing right now that they're keeping them in that knockout type of place for entertainment. They don't want them really in there against technical fighters and stuff like that. They just want them in there with guys that they can bang out. And I guess we've always had that in boxing. It's just that it surges to the forefront now more than ever before. So, but yeah, I like the fact you say he gonna get him up out of there. Yeah, that's funny, Reg. Now, what are your thoughts on the main event, where we may see Navarrete versus Diaz? Do you expect this to be another one of those fights that'll be a showcase for Navarrete?
I'm trying to remember this dude Diaz. I seen Diaz fought Shakur and went to full fight with him. But I've been seeing some things with Navarrete that makes me think, is he losing some steps? Because those last two fights, I don't know what I thought about. He just didn't look that good. And then, matter of fact, that last fight, I thought he lost that fight. And I think those judges end up still in that fight for him. He didn't look good. He didn't look good in the fight before that, which I think got something happened in that fight before the 3 fights ago. And then this last fight he was in, I thought he lost that fight. He didn't look the same. I don't know if they was trying to blame him. Did he move up in weight, or did he drop down, or he did something with weight, but he didn't look good. And I don't know if Navarrete's losing something. I don't know how old Navarrete is, but maybe this dude comes in here and he's inspired, and he does what we seen Oscar Valdez do to dang, who was the dude he just knocked off?
Burchell.
Strada. Oh yeah, Burchell. If he can go in there and do something like that, then we may got a situation on our hands. But I don't know if Navarrete, like I say, Navarrete ain't been looking good in the last 2 fights I've seen him in. And maybe if this dude right here believes in himself, he rises to the occasion, he can push something up out of Navarrete. And I think Navarrete's biggest victories have been those ones against Dog Bay, who was just way undersized for him. But that's my thoughts on that one.
Yeah, man. It's just, I don't know. This whole thing is like really interesting. You know, those fights he had with Dog Bay were some wars, even though he was bigger, rangier, and he handled Dog Bay. But when you see a fighter fighting like that, Reggie, he trains like that in the gym. So Navarrete may take a lot of punishment in the gym, and what you may be seeing is slippage. You know, especially if he is taking punishment in the gym. Some fighters are that give a punch, take a punch mentality, and over the long haul, when you're getting hit in the gym, it still counts, you know, against your brain. So it's something that you may, and then also with guys draining out to make weight, you know, cutting weight and stuff like that. So he may need to move up just to be stronger, you know, for the punishment that he endures. But we'll see what happens. Do you have a time on that fight for tomorrow, Reggie? Because I did not check that. I know it's tomorrow, but I didn't know what time.
No, because I get real pissed off when I look at these fight banners, and the one thing I've always seen missing is time. It made me just want to pick up a phone and cuss these damn promoters out for being that stupid to not put times on. I don't even look for the time no more. I just try. That's why anytime I put a live stream time, I'm changing the time on them. Like, I don't get that aspect of these people who put on promotions. But no, I don't know the time. So I assume maybe 6 o'clock West Coast time.
And that's the thing too. Like HBO and Showtime, they would always put their, you know, time up 8 p.m. Central, 8:30. Excuse me, something like that. But these guys, they don't. They just throw it up there, and then sometimes they'll have you tuned in, and it's not even on. It's like they showing something else, especially on ESPN. Man, they be real funky about what they do. I don't like them guys, man. So, but yeah, that's my thought. My thoughts on this is that Navarrete is probably gonna win this fight. I don't know enough about Diaz. If it's the same Diaz that you said fought Shakur Stevenson, and he went the distance with Shakur, I remember that guy giving Shakur some headbutts and stuff like that. He was doing some dirty tactics to Shakur. But yeah, if this is the same guy, I would probably expect Navarrete to really beat him up, because if you fight him like that, that's kind of right up his alley. He knows what to do, and I could see him doing that to Diaz if this is the same guy that I'm thinking of, Reg.
Yeah, that's him.
Okay, yeah. So trying to look at the chat here, catch up with some conversation there. I know that Crawface and Skinny Kenny were having a good conversation back and forth. Crawface was saying, yes, I agree with Stormybman too. We know fighters been playing way too much selective fight picking. Yeah, man. And a word had come out about the PBC fighters not wanting to fight each other over there. It's like, you know, fights being suggested and guys are like turning fights down. I'm like, man, this stuff has got to go, man. It's got to go. And it's really going to get funky, because like when you look at a guy like Jaron Ennis, right? What a talent this young man is. And he's going to get to a point where he's want to challenge for a title. Are they just going to freeze him out and not give him a title shot, and the sanctioning bodies are not going to push for the title shots and stuff like that? It's like, I remember Evander Holyfield was the #1 contender for Mike Tyson when Mike Tyson was the undisputed champ. And he was #1 contender in all 3 sanctioning bodies, which it was 3 at that time. He was #1 contender in all 3 sanctioning bodies for well over a year. They were not going to make that fight, man. And then Tyson goes to Tokyo and Buster Douglas beats him. So it's like, They really got to clean this up, man. They got to clean it up because we're seeing some funky stuff, man. Real funky stuff. Skinny Kenny is also saying this dude might beat Navarrete, but the dude better KO or dominate him to get the decision. Top Rank thinks Navarrete is a star. Yeah, Crawlface says, for the record, I think Tank's last fight was okay. No A grade for me. I'm not being critical, just saying it wasn't an impressive showing for me. You talking about when Tank knocked out Santa Cruz? That wasn't impressive? Man, where you been? Anyway, Reggie, do you think that Tank's victory over Santa Cruz was impressive?
Hell yeah. You see my reaction. Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out what Crawlface is talking about. Did Tank have a fight that we didn't see? Because that was impressive as a mug, man. We were talking about that fight and then knockout for a while.
Yeah, I think it was so impressive. Santa Cruz then retired without announcing it.
Yeah, man. I don't know, man. Some people, some people just don't like fighters, to be honest. It's like, it could be the way the guy look. It could be the way the guy talk. It could be a number of things that you wouldn't even think is not even logical in the sense of talking boxing, but they just don't want that guy to be given any credit or whatever. And it's like, come on. My thing with Tank is this. Tank is very short. He's very small. And a fighter that has range and that can hit and take a hit, they will always be a threat to beat Tank because he's going to have to try to outbox him. If you can't get to a guy, you can't hit him. And if someone is technically sound and has ability and got some pop on their punches too, Tank is very hittable. So when I was asked out there a moment ago, who was that asked me? Someone asked me, Stormy, did I think that Barrios would beat Tank Davis? If you can hit Tank and be successful, in doing that and keep him at the end of your punches and stuff and be moving and giving him that lateral movement and things like that, you can provide a lot of problems for him because he's been successful against guys that have been right in front of him. I never seen him hunt down a guy that was fleet of foot and everything, and he just wore the guy down, got to him, and got him up out of there or whatever. And he hasn't been fighting those kind of fighters. And we've talked about that. We've talked about him fighting guys who have, certain limitations. And it showcases him as a big puncher because they can't get out of the way of those punches, and therefore he's looking successful. But when you break that down like that, you have to break it down to its essence and not make it appear like you just don't like the guy. When you got a little short guy like that, he should always be running into your shots. Always. You know what I mean? So that's something that people should pay attention to. When you got a short guy like Tank, and I think that's what his people recognize in the gym. They like looking at him sparring and stuff. They say, man, we got to be careful with this kid because he gets hit. And, it's like we need to keep him safe or whatever. And some people talked about Tank, Reggie, like his coming from Baltimore and everything. That's the way he talks or whatever. But I've said that I thought that he slurs his words a little bit. And, he's been boxing since he was a little kid. So it's like he sounds like a guy that's had a lot of fights. And he's a young man. So I don't know how much sparring he's done in the gym, how much punishment he's taken in the gym. Because remember, I said people get hit in the gym just like they get hit in the fight. And it's like, all of those things may add up and people don't really realize them. And it's like, okay, and then one day something happens and it's like, oh, But have you ever given any consideration to that, Reggie? Have you paid attention to him when he talks?
No, I think it's an education thing. I think he lacks education. And the people in Baltimore, they talk they talk with a different dialect. They almost like how them and people from New Orleans have that particular dialect. And him having that along with being an undereducated kid, I think that's more what it is. I don't think so much of boxing, as I haven't seen the signs of it.
Well, I have heard it. I've I've heard guys coming from various places, low standard education, whatever. It's it's not about diction. It's about the pronunciation. It's slurring of the words. I've heard that. It's not like a James Toney or somebody like that, but there is something there, and it might be a good discussion to have one day with not just about him, but about fighters with that, because it gives, I've been in the gym with guys. I've been in the gym with former fighters, guys that are young guys or whatever, and there is a certain way, you know, fighters speak, and it's kind of hard for me to explain it right here, but I do know what I'm trying to say, but at this moment I can't fix, because I don't talk about that a lot, but I do notice it in certain fighters. Rashid Rourke out there in the chat says, I see 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific for tomorrow's fight, Stormybman. So that's what Rashid Rourke said, Reggie, about the fights on ESPN.
Oh, okay. So 7 p.m. my time.
Yeah. So are you going to call it?
Oh, heck yeah. I was going to do the UFC, but I look at this boxing match and said, oh, no, I'm switching boxing.
Yeah. And it'd probably be over early anyway. ESPN, this is one thing I wanted to say about their fights, Reggie. If you ever notice, they never go over their time slots. So if they have an event scheduled after the fight, like at football games supposed to come on at such and such time or whatever, they always end before. I don't know what's so funny about that, but you see a fight get stopped, a fight get knocked out, stopped on a cut, whatever. They always manage to stay within that time slot. You watch a fight on Showtime or when it was HBO around and stuff like that, those fights would go, if it's a 2 hour, you figure it's going to be on for 2 hours. It'd be 2 hours and 20 minutes, 2 hours, 15 minutes, 2 hours, 30 minutes, whatever, But ESPN, they come in all the time right under that time slot. Have you ever noticed that?
No, I haven't really peeped that. But
Yeah.
it's probably because they deal with all them other sports programs that they ain't playing with it.
Yeah, it's just something that I figured that out a long time ago. I was like, man, this is crazy, bro. Tuesday night fights was like that too. A lot of their fights ended before 10 p.m. Central, because they come on at 8 and then it go off at 10 p.m. Central, and somebody will be just getting knocked out like 5 minutes to go. I'm like, man, wait a minute, man. You guys ain't playing no mind games on me here with this mess. It's crazy. But yeah. Hey, man, another great discussion, Reggie. We had some people in here listening. Like I said, I didn't expect to see Blue Blood out there. It was good to see the brother out there. I'm sure we had some others out there that are known just decided not to write in the chat. But we had at least 40 people hit the like button, so that's a good thing. Why don't you go ahead and give us your final thoughts on everything?
Yes, sir, man. Another great one, OG, man. Thank y'all in the chat for coming through as well. And see you guys on the next. Oh, matter of fact, tomorrow on the post fight. So don't forget that. But that's all I got, OG.
Yes, sir. And we'll have that post fight show after the ESPN card. And Reggie, if you want, drop that link in the chat for your channel. because people can come and check you out on the call. Taylor Bell wasn't with us this evening. He was either probably doing some family things or whatever, but salute to my man Taylor Bell, who helps try to keep things going. Last night, Reggie, on the Three Wise Men, we had the Google mods in our chat, and they were fooling with our man Taylor Bell, because he'll usually post the links for the show and different things regarding what we have to offer on Stormybman channel, and the Google mods were out there deleting every time he did it. And I was trying to tell him, I was like, hey man, don't even worry about it. Taylor Bell, don't post the links or anything. And links to my own channel and show, they out there deleting it every time he put it in there. Man, them people are something else. Google mods.
Yeah, they just pop up out of nowhere.
Yeah, and that's the first, because how long we've been doing shows, you know what I mean? So it's like, but I don't like to see that, but it's okay. We keep it going, and matter of fact, since I mentioned that, I want to remind everybody out there, in the description box, you got the link for the merchandise store, the Stormybman's items. You can go to there, the Streamlabs store, click on that link that's in the description box, take you over there to the store. You can get you some gear. You can get backpacks, you can get coffee mugs, baseball caps, windbreakers, t-shirts and hoodies, man. Got some more items coming up soon, and that's right over there at the Streamlabs store for the Stormybman's items, man. And then also to remind anyone out there that Stormy is a official ambassador for the Black Gentleman Grooming Company, with my man Junior the Truth over there with his Black Gentleman products over there, grooming company. And if you enter the code StormyBman, you can get 10% off of your items, and the shareable link is down there in the description box as well on the main page. And if you guys haven't tried that Black Gentleman Grooming Company products, please do. I've tried some of the beard oil and some of the cologne, and the items that they're just products that are made specifically from a more healthier point of view. There's no aluminum in the deodorants and things like that. So it's like the products are made with care and for us, by us. So if you haven't had a chance to check it out, please do so. If you bundle up your items, that 10% discount comes in handy, takes off those taxes. So it's like, try it out if you haven't. I'm actually going to get a bundle of items. I already got my t-shirt. Junior made a joke about me about wanting my t-shirt. I had to call him up. Hey, Junior, where's my t-shirt? But yeah, got good products over there, man, and I will be looking to support. That's the one thing that we can do out here more than anything, is support one another with our endeavors, because that's how we can stay afloat, man. If other communities can do it, why can't we? You know what I mean? So it's like, to be able to get out there and do what's necessary, that's very important, man. It's how you thrive and stay alive, supporting one another. So just know that. And I want to say salute to that man out there, Crawl Face, in the super chat. He says, I can't catch all the chats, but I appreciate your efforts, Stormybman, and everyone. Yes, sir. We appreciate you out there, Crawl Face, and you guys were really having great engaging conversation out there this evening. Even though I didn't read off all of your chats, you did a very good job of holding the attention and of fellow members out there in the chat, man, talking about the subjects that we were going over. So salute to you guys out there for that. Yeah. So yeah, man, another great show, Reggie. We out here and we're doing our thing. We're going to come back tomorrow with a post-fight show. And that'll be it for this evening. It is, you know, we're going to go ahead and sign off. You guys can go on and catch up with what you got to do with the rest of your evening. This is Stormybman. And for my man Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens, we're going to get on up out of here. Have a great weekend. Peace.
Peace.